Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. In today's coverage, we're going to look again at the ongoing conflict taking place between Ukraine and Russia. And we can tell you that information coming out of the region is heating up dramatically. I'm going to go over some various news reports that are kind of filtering in, and then I'll talk about kind of what we're reading and seeing on the ground. So first, this is out of UA Wire, a Ukrainian outlet, media. Russia is preparing to seize 2/3 of Ukraine. And again, UA Wire. Not so fast, New York Post. Biden vows to deter Russia invasion of Ukraine. Right. Sorry. London Economic. The London Economic. Russia planning Ukraine invasion, and it could be very soon, it's claimed. Radio Free Europe. Belarus alleges border violation by Ukrainian military helicopter. WABC TV, affiliate out of New York, ABC7. Tensions between U.S. Russia escalate ahead of Biden Putin call. I wonder what that's like for Vladimir Putin to talk to Joe Biden. I'm just curious about that. I bet when Vladimir Putin gets off the phone, him and his cronies have quite a chuckle. I bet they, quite frankly, laugh their asses off. I'm sorry, again, a little off track here. But, all right, Business Insider. Biden warns Putin he will make it very, very difficult to attack Ukraine. Okay. Why Putin may go to war in Ukraine, the national interest. CBS News. U.S. warns of possible Russian invasion of Ukraine with 175,000 troops in 2022. The Telegraph. U.S. intelligence warns Russia preparing for new Ukraine invasion. Another Reuters about the violation of Belarusian airspace by Ukrainian military helicopters. And it goes on and on and on. So what's new? What are we hearing? So two things that are really kind of coming to light. First is a Washington Compost report. What's that? It's not the I'm sorry, the Washington Post. The Washington Post. I stand corrected. So the Washington Post is reporting that the Russians are building up in excess of 175,000 troops at various locations along the border with Ukraine. Specifically, there's a fairly significant buildup, as I discussed before, in the Crimea, in the eastern separatist occupied areas, both to the south and north of Kharkiv. There is also a report coming out that quite possibly the Russian operation would look to seize all of southern Ukraine. And why is this important? Because you have this area right here in Moldova that is under the control of Russian separatists. And you can see right here there is the operational group of Russian forces in the Transnistria region of the Republic of Moldova. So this area actually separated from Moldova proper, and it's its own fairly somewhat independent nation backed by Russia. Again, very, very small, and it's bordered between Moldova and Ukraine. And specifically, this is very challenging for the Russian military here because in order for it to supply its forces in Transnistria, it has to either fly over the Ukraine, which it's not allowed to do, or fly directly into Moldova and then move its forces either coming in or out for rotations via Moldova. And there's been times where Russian forces have actually been detained and arrested by Moldovan forces. And as you know, Moldova is very close with Romania, who happens to be, yep, you guessed it, a member of NATO. So again, you could see why, quite possibly, Russia would want to move and seize the entire South and create not only a land bridge to Crimea, but a land bridge possibly to this area, the Transnistria region. So again, 400,000 people, half of them 400,000 or 500,000, half of which are Russian. So again, this intel continues to filter in. We're starting to see quite possibly a much larger buildup in the Russian force construct that is facing Ukraine than what was initially thought. From some sources coming in now, it alleges that the Russian buildup again could be in excess of 175,000 troops by the time we get to January or the early part of January of next year. And again, as I talked about before, I believe that if there was an operation, it would be a localized operation or quite possibly an operation to seize everything east of the Dnieper River. Now, if what this intel coming in alleges, that would mean the Russians look to cross the Dnieper, quite possibly conduct amphibious landing operations, and seize the area of basically the entire southern coast and make Ukraine a landlocked nation. So apparently that operation, which would include the seizure of all of eastern Ukraine and all of southern Ukraine, and it would just basically leave Ukraine with this area here, possibly including Kiev, as its own independent nation, with Russia occupying eastern Ukraine and southern Ukraine as well. And that operation is reportedly called Operation Maximum or Maxim. And that is supposedly sitting on Putin's desk, awaiting final approval. Now, I would say that he has a multitude of operations, and probably Operation Maximum is in fact what it is. It is the furthest Putin would look to go in seizing territories of Ukraine. And again, I think a lot of this is going to be predicated upon the success of the initial operations. If Russian forces are bogged down near Kharkiv, if Russian forces are bogged down near Mariupol and see significant resistance, then naturally I would say he would renege on Phase 2 and Phase 3, which could possibly be the drive to seize everything east of the Dnieper, and then all of southern Ukraine. So this will probably be a phased operation depending on success, depending on what the North Atlantic Treaty Organization does, depending on whether it's very difficult to say what could raise its ugly head in this conflict. But again, significant amount of forces of the Russian Federation are now being deployed along the border. I mean, to the point where it would almost be it would become, if the amount of forces that are being moved into place, it would almost become economically unviable not to proceed forward with an operation at a certain point. That's how big this buildup is. We're also seeing the deployment of further supply nodes being created, further medical bases being created to facilitate the treatment of casualties. So a lot of components are right now underway. And if in fact we see 175,000 troops on the border with Ukraine, and I would assume that would include both naval and Air Force personnel. But again, that is a significant chunk of the Russian Ministry of Defense's personnel that they have in their armed forces. A significant amount. The ground forces consist of about 280, 290,000 personnel. Obviously, the airborne troops are a second service, so to speak, and are not included in that. And that's another anywhere from 55 to 60,000 personnel. We have the the coastal defense troops and the naval infantry, which again are a separate portion, and that's another 36,000 personnel. But you take that in total and you look at the 175,000. That's a significant portion of the Russian military that's being moved towards the border with Ukraine. This is probably just in terms of percentage of total force, one of the largest moves, outside of World War II by the Russians and even the Soviet militaries in terms of percentage of armed forces being moved into a certain area. But again, we're going to keep our eye on the situation. Again, very possible this is just all rhetoric from Putin trying to obtain something. And what that something is, who knows? But again, very serious situation. Lots of pieces moving right now. And we're going to continue to keep an eye on the situation and report. And more content for your consumption soon to come.